that Jeffrey Epstein, in this person's view, was not a pedophile. This is this person's view, who was there for a lot of this, but that he was into the barely legal type. Like he liked 15-year-old girls.
With the Epstein emails dropping this week and the Epstein files seeming closer and closer to being released, remains to be seen whether or not that's actually going to happen, but it looks a lot more like it will than it won't these days. Conservative punditry is falling all over themselves to make excuses, not so much for Epstein, but for potentially the president being tangled up in all of this mess. And I needed to talk about this one. A lot of people have already spoken about it, but this is, I mean, talk about sticking your foot in your mouth. We've got here Megyn Kelly, and I'm going to try to reserve my comments as much as I can, but at the same time, it is really difficult to hear the amount of bullshit that she says without having to stop it and go, what in the actual fuck? Megyn Kelly.
As for Epstein, I've said this before, but just as a reminder, I do know somebody very, very close to this case who is in a position to know virtually everything. Not everything, but virtually everything. And this person has told me from the start, years and years ago, that Jeffrey Epstein, in this person's view, was not a pedophile. This is this person's view, who was there for a lot of this, but that he was into the barely legal type. Like he liked 15-year-old girls.
Okay, I'm sorry. I got to stop. That is not barely legal. That is illegal. It's younger than the age of consent. That is illegal. Now, Megyn Kelly has a law degree. She should know this. That is not barely legal. Barely legal is 18. Barely legal is 19, maybe 20. That's barely legal. 15 is ill fucking legal, Megyn.
And I realize this is disgusting. I'm definitely not trying to make an excuse for this.
You are literally trying to make an excuse for this. You are, I mean, I'm watching you. We are all watching you make an excuse for this. You just fucking lied. Barely legal is not 15, Megyn.
Giving you facts.
That's not a fact.
That he wasn't into like 8-year-olds.
Oh, well, gee whiz. Wow. Do us a fucking favor. He wasn't into 8-year-olds. Oh, see, now this is what I'm talking about. They're making this distinction between children and children. They're all still children, Megyn. They're all still children. Yes, there's a difference between an 8-year-old and a 15-year-old. Yeah, no kidding. But at the same time, a 15-year-old is still a child. Give me a break. Oh, my giddy aunt. I'm not trying to make excuses, but here I am trying to make excuses.
He liked the very young teen types that could pass for even younger than...
Wait, hold on. A teen type. Honey, there are types out there. There's the nerdy type, the smart type, the athletic type, the intellectual type, the hippie type, the patriot type. Those are types. A 15-year-old is not a type. That's an age. What are you talking about?
They were, but would look legal to a passerby. And that is what I believed, and that was what I reliably was told for many years. And it wasn't until we heard...
That's what she believes now. I've seen clips of her going, young kids under the age of 18, that is rape, and that's terrible, and that's horrible. But now she's changing her tune because she knows who her audience is.
Heard from Pam Bondi that they had tens of thousands of videos of alleged, forgive me, they used to call it kiddie porn. Now they call it child sexual abuse material.
Okay, so they used to call it kiddie porn. Now they call it child sex abuse material. I'm hearing a tinge of, oh, God, we used to be able to say kiddie porn. Now we have to be woke and call it child sex abuse. That's what I'm hearing from the tone of her voice. But here she is having her cake and eating it too, saying, oh, they used to be able to say kiddie porn, even though you just fucking said it. You just said kiddie porn. I don't really give a fuck what you call it. It's still sexual abuse of a minor. Not barely legal. Illegal. That's the word you're looking for, Megyn.
Material on his computer that for the first time I thought, Oh, no, he was an actual pedophile. I mean, only a pedophile gets off on young children abuse videos. She's never clarified it. I don't know whether it's true. I have to be honest. I don't really trust Pam Bondi's word on the Epstein.
Okay, now that right there, that is, I am blame shifting. I am saying all of this horrible, dastardly shit. But honestly, you should look at Pam Bondi because she's not trustworthy. Yet again, another Fox News trope. If you want to bash on a white lady, you bring out a white lady. If you want to bash on a black person, you bring a black person onto your panel. If you want to bash on an immigrant, you go find an immigrant to come on and stand in front of a camera and say how bad that immigrant is. But this is white on white violence. This is white lady on white lady violence. And I'm blame shifting. I just said some horrible shit. But, don't be mad at me. Be mad at Pam Bondi.
Matters
or anything else
anymore. Yeah, so I don't know what's true about him, but we have yet to see anybody come forward and say I was I was under 10, I was under 14.
What is this? Well, he didn't have sex with an 8-year-old. It was only a 15-year-old. Barely legal.
When I first came within his purview, you can say that's a distinction without a difference.
Yes. I can say it because it's true. That is a distinction without a difference. An 8-year-old and a 15-year-old are both still children. Yes, a 15-year-old and an 8-year-old are different. But I'll tell you what, a 15-year-old looks more adult and has more interest from these skeezy types. It's like, look at her. She's very Lolita. She looks old enough to pass as an adult, but I know deep down, she's still a little kid. And I get to abuse that. And I get to use my power over her. Because ultimately, rape is not about sex. It is about power. The power dynamic. And she goddamn knows better.
No, it's not.
I think there is a difference.
Yeah.
There's a difference between.
You heard her guess as she's talking. She goes, "No, there's no difference. There's no distinction. There's no difference." I'm not 100% sure who that person is that she's talking to, but oh my God, I don't know if there's a distinction without a difference. I think there is. No, it's not. It's not.
A 15-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Yeah. Thanks, Megan. Thanks so much. I appreciate your wisdom. Look, Megyn Kelly, she's an attractive woman, and she was on Fox for a long time. Who knows what she had to do to get to Fox News? But when she got to Fox News, she had to endure the wrath of Roger Ailes. And every time Roger Ailes commanded her to come to his office, and she hears that lock click on his office door behind her, she knows that she's going to have to do some wretched, horrible shit. And she spoke about it a little bit, the abuse from Roger Ailes. He did it to a lot of people. Every time he hired a woman to work for Fox News, the dresses had to be 3 inches shorter, the heels had to be 2 inches taller, and they had to show as much cleavage as they possibly could, because ultimately they were there not for an audience of millions of people. They were there for an audience of one, and that was Roger Ailes. And he abused the women that worked for him ad nauseum over and over and over again. And Megyn Kelly was caught up in that. And I do feel some empathy and sympathy for her because I'm a human being. Of course I'm going to. But she is taking that abuse and now she's redirecting it. I mean, you remember, after she dealt with Roger Ailes and then quit and then wrote her book, she got a gig at, I believe it was like NBC Morning Show. And it did not work out very well for her because over all of the years working at Fox News, saying Jesus is just white and Santa's just white and constantly spewing Republican talking points and bashing other women like she just did with Pam Bondi and doing all of that Republican shit that she was paid to do. It was too much baggage. So her going on to a mainstream show just didn't translate. I'm not saying that she doesn't have talent or charisma because obviously she does. She's still in the biz. But at the same time, it did not work out so well for her with normal, regular, everyday morning show TV, not spitting vitriol and spinning bullshit, conservative talking points and lies. And then she was at that Donald Trump debate where he yelled at her and about her that she was bleeding out of her eyes and bleeding out of wherever. And she got a lot of backlash from that too. So her using a little bit of her power to question a potential president, she ended up taking hits for that because she sounded like a woke, or back then politically correct, for asking those questions. Being an attractive woman is not all it's cracked up to be. Now, I'm not saying that there's not benefits from it, because being an attractive blonde woman with big boobs does have its benefits. It's definitely white lady privilege, without a doubt. But the first thing that you are valued for is not your talent. It's the way you look. And you have to start off busting your ass to try to prove that you are more than a pretty face. But they only hire you because you have a pretty face. And then you have to make compromises and do some dastardly shit to get into that room. That way you got a chance to prove that you are more than a pretty face. But you've already been sullied by the journey to get there. And then you get a 10, 15-year window of being super attractive and at the height of your skills and your talents. And you're trying desperately to hold on to that youthful beauty as long as you can. And then when it starts to slip and they've got a nubile 22-year-old ready to replace you, then you lose your job. And all of that work that you did trying to prove that you have skill and talent falls by the wayside because they didn't really care about that. You were only valued for spitting the talking points, spinning the bullshit lies, and being a attractive woman on Fox News so you can make all of the 70-year-olds at home watching Fox News feel like they're watching softcore porn. Glass tables to make sure that all of the legs are showing. And they're, I'm just sitting here watching the news. Yank, 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 yank. So she learned a lesson by working at Fox News. She learned the lesson that it doesn't matter how talented I am. I have to toe the line. I have to say all of the Republican stuff that makes the Republican men happy. They like looking at me, but they love hearing what I have to say. So after the lessons she learned at Fox News and the lessons she learned at that debate, now she is probably doing very well, very successful in her podcast. But the thing is, the only reason why she's successful is because she is there to please her audience capture. She doesn't get to be a free thinker. She doesn't get to say what's really on her mind. She knows that she has an audience there that is paying her bills by being subscribers and clicking like on the videos, because she says that all women are bitches and they're trying to get in your wallet. And they're all very evil and very nefarious. But not me. I'm one of the good ones. And I will tell you all the things you want to hear, that men are the best. They're stronger. They're smarter. They're better. They're faster. They do everything cooler than us. And honestly, I should be at home making a sandwich for you, preparing to give you head and a hand job. So to stay relevant, she's got to stay on the talking points and continue on going down this rabbit hole of patriarchal society, reinforcing it over and over again. Just getting everybody used to the idea that Donald Trump didn't sleep with a 8-year-old or a 5-year-old. He only slept with a 15-year-old. I mean, that's okay. That's barely legal. That's fine. I am making an excuse for it right now, getting you all prepared. So when this does come out, you'll already know what to say. And then you'll be like, well, in certain states, like Alabama, if you get the parental consent, then you can have sex with the 15-year-old. Yuck! Do you hear the words coming out of your mouth? You're making excuses for them. Megyn's making excuses, and she's now passing along that excuse for you to use when the time comes to point the finger at Donald Trump. Look, do I have empathy for the position that she's in? A little bit. I get it. But I also know that that is a hurt woman. She has painted herself into a corner. I'm not saying that there wasn't some bad decisions that led to that, but now she is at a point where she is genuinely causing pain to every other woman. Yeah, your ends are meeting. You're successful. You're one of the good ones. Well, what about the rest of us? You're throwing all the rest of the fairer sex under the bus just so you can get yours. And you are a woman in pain. And you know what they say about people in pain. Hurt people hurt people. And that's what she's doing. By doing her best to stay relevant. I mean, I just watched a video of her trying to ride the fence between Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, who is a Hitler-loving fascist, literally says, I love Hitler, giving Sig Heils on camera, talking about your body, my choice. And she's defending him. She's riding the fence. And it's pretty fucking pathetic. Like I said, do I have empathy for her situation? Yes. Do I have sympathy? No, I don't. Because you might be hurt and you might have been done wrong. But to save your own ass, to prove that you're one of the good ones, you are throwing the rest of us under the bus just so you can get paid. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you saw, please like and subscribe. Keep rocking.